Hello guys, welcome back to this Mercedes Sprinter van conversion. In today's video we're going to be talking about noise reduction. I'm going to go back a couple of stages. This video is going to seem a little bit out of sequence, but it's really in answer to quite a few questions that I've had as to whether I'd be putting any sound insulation into my van. So essentially I think there's two main ways that noise is generated in your van. When you're driving along, there'll be road noise that's generated from the wheels and just moving along, traffic noise and so forth, and that'll get transmitted through the thin walls of your vehicle. The second and probably the most common way that noise gets into your van or noise is generated is by these thin sheet metal walls and the thin metal floor and the thin metal roof. What happens as you're driving along, this thin sheet metal vibrates and rattles, and obviously they're the noises that are generated mostly in most panel vans. I mean, what you can do is, if you're at the stage where you've just stripped out all the lining of your old van and you're about to do your conversion, go and take it for a drive on the road, and then you'll hear where all the rattles and all the sheet metal and all the noises are coming from. I can compare this to my day job. We design air conditioning systems for large commercial buildings, and we use very large galvanised sheet steel ductwork to transfer all the air through the building to deliver it to the various offices. Now when this ductwork gets very large and the air is travelling through it, it has a tendency to vibrate and drum, and that can create a lot of noise. And the ways that we combat that are to either provide stiffening to those sheets in the form of angle iron, or we put creases or folds in the sheet, and that has the same effect. It effectively stiffens that sheet and prevents it from rattling. So the manufacturers of vans do the same. You'll notice on the roof of your van and on the floor of the van, they've pressed creases into that, made folds. And what that does, that stiffens the sheet, it adds strength, but it also reduces all the vibration. So in a lot of cases, you don't actually need to treat the floor of your van or treat the roof of your van, because the manufacturer's already taken care of that. The areas that I think you need to look at in particular are these side panel walls. Now again, the manufacturer's already done something to go towards preventing these from rattling, because as you see, these ribs inside the van here are actually bonded to the outside skin of the van. When I look down the side here, there's a thin bead of silicone, and these two layers, although they're separate, they're stuck together with some silicone. So what that's doing, that's effectively acting as a damper. And these panels, if that wasn't there, these would really rattle like a cymbal, you know, on a drum kit. But as it happens, when I knock these, it actually sounds quite dead. It doesn't sound very live. So they've already gone a long way to reducing the noise on these panels, so I don't think they need a lot more treatment. And I was actually in two minds as to whether I was going to put any treatment on my van at all. I think they've already done quite a good job. If I knock these panels down here, they're pretty dead. They don't seem to rattle either. These panels, they're pretty good. The only ones that I think maybe rattle more than any of the others in my van are the rear doors. So you definitely don't need to do your whole van. I mean, I've seen some videos where people have gone out and bought sound deadening material and literally covered their entire van in it. It's absolutely not necessary. Apart from anything, the material is very heavy, it's very expensive, and I think it's a complete waste of time and money. We've already gone a long way to reduce the noise coming into our van just purely by insulating it. We've got 100mm of earth wall in the walls of the van, so that is going to actually absorb those sound waves. The insulation that we've put on the floor is also going to assist in absorbing some of that sound. So even just by insulating the van without treating the noise specifically, we're still going to get noise attenuation just because of that insulation that's in there. Another way of treating this vibration on sheet metal is to apply a sound deadening material. Now what this is, I've got some here. This is called anit-vibe, and basically it's a very thin material, flexible, adhesive on the back. It's only about 2 or 3mm thick, but it's very dense and very heavy. This weighs something like 5 kilos per metre squared. I mean, it's very similar. It's almost like a flexible lead. It's very dense and very heavy. And what this does, when you stick this to a sheet of metal, it completely changes the characteristics of that sheet. It makes it a lot more dense and a lot more rigid. And effectively what it does is it alters its resonant frequency. Without this stuck to the sheet metal, if you was to tap it, the sheet metal would ring like a cymbal on a drum kit. With this stuck to it, the metal becomes almost dead. It becomes very dense and very heavy, and it resonates at a much lower frequency. So when you tap it, it actually sounds as though it's dead. You know, there's hardly any vibration at all. And that is the idea of this stuff. There's a very interesting little short video that I found on YouTube of somebody doing a demonstration. It's only a minute long. I'll put a link up here and a link in the description. Go and have a look at that. It's really interesting just to see exactly how effective this material is. This particular manufacturer produces this material in sheets a lot bigger than what we actually need, so I'm just going to cut this up into smaller pads. You can actually buy it in small pads, but it cuts really easy with a sharp utility knife, so this is not a problem. There, you see that cuts nice and easy. And we'll chop these up into manageable sections, and then we can just stick them to the surface of our van. There we go. So now it's all manageable squares that we can just stick to the van. It's got a self-adhesive back on it, and all I'm going to do now is just apply it to the panel of my van. And I'm just going to use a little paint roller just to squeeze out any possible air bubbles, just to make sure it's stuck firmly to the van. That's it. Put another one on here just below this. Get my little roller. You can use a J roller, you know, what you would normally use for applying laminate. And to be honest, this old paint roller will apply enough pressure. That's it, that's all you need to do. That's as dead as anything, that panel. That's going to cure that vibration. Right, I'm hoping on this rear door, this is one of the liveliest panels on my van. You can hear the difference between what it sounds like now. It's quite a relatively high pitched, or got quite a high tone to it. Let's apply these panels and then we'll see what the difference is. Make sure that these are really stuck down quite well with the roller. That's it. Just squeeze any air bubbles out, make sure that they're really stuck to the van. Okay, let's see what difference that's made. Yeah, that's really different, you know, from that high-pitched tinniness. You know, the panel's really dead now. And that's all we need to do. Just apply a few small squares like this. It's enough to add plenty of mass to this steel panel and stop it vibrating. You know, that panel's got a lot more mass now, and it's a lot lower sound. You can hear the difference. It was very tinny before, and this has obviously added a lot of mass. Now we can insulate over the top of this, and obviously that insulation is going to prevent any breakout or any noise coming into the van from outside. Any sound waves that manage to travel through the van are going to be absorbed by that additional insulation. Hope you found that information to be useful to you. I hope you're enjoying this build series. Please do give me a thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribed, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.